Hi, this is May.
And I'm Joy.
Welcome to the QWERTY Writing Life Podcast, where we have candid chats about our creative lives.
May and I are friends, writers, and creatives who want to share our endeavors out loud.
On this podcast, we're here to encourage each other, and you too,
and share tools we've discovered or made up,
so you can follow your passions with a little support. So grab your tea
or your coffee,
and let's get started. And today we are going to talk about fear. Dun, dun, dun. But before we do that, Joy has an announcement.
I do. I'm so excited. So I think it's interesting that this just happened to tie in with the same night that we're going to sit here and talk about fear. I just hit submit on a short story that I've been working on for 2 years. And Yay! I've had my eye on this literary magazine. It's called Glimmer Train. And backstory, 10 years ago or however long it's been, this was the first magazine that I submitted to, and of course it was rejected, and that's totally fine because this is like a huge magazine and I just love them. But over the years I've followed them. They send out these great emails to writers that are super helpful and super encouraging, and Glimmer Train was started by two sisters, Susan and Linda, and guys, let me just tell you, they are so encouraging to, especially to emerging writers. That's really who they seem to just try to encourage and be there for and support. And they have published many emerging writers over the years. And they started in 1990, and this is their last year. And I'm so sad. Very sad. But I have submitted again, and I'm so glad that I did, because they've just kind of always been that magazine that's like, you know, the one that's been in my view over the years. And they're super encouraging. And I've actually had the opportunity to email just briefly with one of the sisters. She was so nice, so amazingly nice. I mean, she emailed me back right away. I had a question. I couldn't believe it was her that was emailing me back. And it was super sweet. So anyway, I'm so excited. And I was sharing with May how I would love to ask them if I could do an interview with them for my blog sometime this year. And I'm a little afraid to speaking of fear.
And May said,
do it. Because I do, like, you know, it's the journalist in me. I love to interview people. I love to hear their stories and find out where they came from and what they're doing and all of those great things.
Congratulations. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Pushing the hardest, like when I was submitting poetry and stuff, the hardest thing was to actually click that submit button and just like let it go. It's no longer in your hands. It is in somebody else's. Yep. And that was so hard. I thought I had like a mini panic attack about that. So I'm so proud that you did it. And I'm glad that you did.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about fear today, and I have a personal philosophy on fear. So
I'm so excited about this. I love it. Y'all are in for a treat.
Well, the thing is that I don't know if it's scientifically correct. So I'm going to put that out as a disclaimer. But if it is not scientifically correct, I don't want any comments about it. I don't want to know, because this is how I run my life. Okay, guys? So just let me
pop her bubble.
Yeah, let me live in my ignorant bubble. But guys, I'm telling you, like, if I had to put fear into perspective, because I was afraid of everything, and I still get overwhelmed by fear and paralyzed by fear, and I just have to work through the theory, you know. So fear was kind of the hardest part for me to actually overcome in order to decide that, yes, now I'm absolutely ready to try to become a career author. And I just grew up fearful. I don't know exactly why. I have some ideas, but I don't know exactly why. So I grew up fearful, and anything that was different that I wanted to try, or something that was a challenge that I wanted to try to take on, fear would stop me in my tracks every time. And even if I got up the guts to go one step, like that second step was just as hard as the first, and then the third step was hard, and then I just gave up. So that happened a lot. That was kind of my MO whenever I was getting into adulthood, and I didn't want that to be the way that it was forever. So I would probably say in the last, I guess about 8 years or so, I've started developing this theory on fear. And it's helped me out a lot. So I'm going to tell you guys about it. So the first thing that we need to do is give fear its props. Okay. It's there for a reason. It's kept us alive for a really long time, as far, like he's kept humans alive for a really long time. So the first thing that we need to do is to say thanks, and like give it a little fist bump and blow it up. Thanks for your service, fear, because I'll give you an example of that. So say that you've got human A, and human A has never seen a bear before. Okay. So human A is in the woods, sees this nice bear, thinks that maybe it would be kind of fun to pet. And
they are super cute.
It's super cute. Pet has a little furry head. An action that is outside of human A's comfort zone, by the way. He's never done it before, but he's so darn cute. So fear points out to human A that the bear has really sharp claws, and that there's a baby cub that's behind his little leg, or his big leg. And so fear starts suggesting that maybe petting the bear is not the best action to take. But human aid, actually listens to fear and runs away instead of petting the bear. So that was fear. That was fear preserving the status quo for human A, and status quo being that he was alive. Okay, so yay, thanks, fear. You're awesome. It's there for a reason, and I think that we should respect that. I've kind of seen a lot of articles and things as I've been trying to figure out how to handle my personal fear of everything. I've read a lot of articles about how your brain tricks you, and it's your enemy, and you have to overcome your natural state. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that we just need to understand how fear works in our own selves. I think we need to understand that we've been created particular ways for a reason, and that we just need to understand and respect everything about us. So the first thing that we need to do in order to understand fear is to realize that it's trying to protect us, and that it doesn't want us to do anything that could hurt ourselves. And anything that is outside of our comfort zone is what fear is trying to keep. Because in status quo, as we are right now, most of the time we're fed, we're sheltered, that sort of things. And fear is like, heck yes, yeah, we're winning, so let's not change anything. But the problem is that our comfort zones are not always comfortable. And so there are people who are in situations that fear is telling them to stay there, and they really need to get out. So if you are someone who's in a domestic violence situation, I encourage you to move past that fear and to seek help. There's actually a hotline they have for that. You just call 1-800-779-7233, and you can get help from that. It doesn't have to necessarily be that drastic as far as our comfort zones go. So say you're just in a job that isn't fulfilling you. It isn't exactly what you want to do with your life, but it does provide shelter. It provides food. It sometimes might provide insurance. It might be more than just you. It might be for your family. Fear is still saying, you know what? Everything's good. Everything's good. You're breathing. It's fine. But fear doesn't necessarily take into consideration that breathing is not the only thing that we have that's fulfilling. So fear is a natural response when you are considering change, because as soon as you decide to start looking at other job opportunities and maybe beefing up your resume, your stomach clenches, your brain goes into a million what ifs. Like, what if somebody sees me trying to update my resume and all of a sudden they fire me because somebody's already seeing me trying to look for another job? They automatically assume I'm not happy. Whoa, that's fear. So, fear doesn't have discernment. Fear is not able to say, this is a passion project. So go for it, right? It can't tell the difference between the types of change. It can only tell the difference between the intensity of it. So a change that might threaten your basic needs, like, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The very bottom one is like, surviving. So a change that threatens your basic needs can produce the same type of fear as a change to, for example, your self-esteem. So that would be on Maslow's hierarchy. That would be in the psychological and self-fulfillment area, which is way above the survival area. So if you really, really want to be a writer or a chef or a painter or a sidewalk artist or something, fear sees that as a really, really big threat. So here's what I've decided. That's been my process in understanding fear. It's almost like a pet. It's almost like this really sweet dog who just wants to protect you, and it doesn't know that the stranger coming up is actually someone who's going to be helpful and beneficial in your life.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of growling at the person and very, very protective of you. And I think that looking at fear that way has actually helped me out. So this is what I've decided. Fear is a consequence of change. And humans don't do change well. Nope. That's not our thing. So even at the notion of change, our instinct will be that for our fear to keep us in the status quo. So fear should really not be a deterrent for you to achieve your desires and your goals. It should, however, be a trigger to stop and evaluate what you're actually afraid of.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So don't let fear be an excuse from becoming who you want to be. I like the whole analysis stuff too, but I also want to know, yes, okay, maybe there's somebody out there who's like, yes, May, I feel you. This could be a thing that could help me, right? What do I do? That's the kind of advice that I like. I like suggestions on how
Give me
to
the 5 steps.
Yeah, I want the practical application of the situation. So here's May's practical application of the situation. The first line of defense against allowing fear to consume you is holding it up against who you are now and who you want to be. And then you need to decide which one of those people is fear protecting. If it's your status quo one, and you want to stay there, then it's protecting the right one. If it's not protecting the person that you want to be and you want to be more, then you've got to press forward. You got to press onward past that fear because you got things to do.
That's right. Places to go, people to see.
Places to go. That's right. So my second thing that I can say as far as practical application is that fear is awakened by change, right? We've just discussed all that. So if fear is awakened by change, what if you make creating a part of your daily habit and all of a sudden it's normal and it's not change, it's just something that you do? Eventually, fear will have to accept it and shut up.
There you go.
At least for a little while. Again, this is not something that you overcome and you can put it behind you. It will creep up over and over and over again. And you just have to analyze it, make sure that you're not in danger or that you actually do want to make these changes in your life, and you go for it if that's what you want.
And I love that it's so cool that this has actually been a theme with every single one of the things that we've talked about in these 5 episodes. It's over and over. It's like, this isn't going to be a one-time thing. This is going to keep coming back. So, yeah.
I know. And I've noticed too that in all of our solution things, it's been evaluate yourself. It's like a know thyself kind of situation where, you don't let things happen to you. You understand them and then you happen to them.
Boom. I feel like we should have like some Rocky music or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's this. I'm wearing my
baby.
husband's hoodie. Like, I don't know.
I love it. We're just taking control of our lives, man. We've been run by emotions. We've been run by supervisors. We've been run by fear. And sometimes even family and other people in our lives have bossed us around, and that was okay for a little while when we were learning, but now it's time for us to stand on our feet, man.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, don't let fear boss you around. Just pet it on the head, tell it that stranger is okay, and put it back on its leash,
Like it. Put fear on a leash. Do you have any specific instances that maybe you could share where, whether it may be directly related to your writing or it may not be, but just something where fear was an issue and how this really helped?
So the year's 2016, I had decided that I was going to have an overcoming fear year. So anything creatively where I was struck in the pit of my stomach with fear, I said yes to. So the very first thing that happened, I made this declaration, and the very first thing that happened was a call for poets to read at an open mic night. Well, no, it wasn't even an open mic night. They were choosing specific people, but they wanted people from the university that I worked at. And I was somebody that somebody knew that wrote. And so they were like, Megan, you need to do this thing that I'm telling you about. And immediately in my gut, I was like, no, I will not. I will not be. And so because that was a no in my gut, I looked at him and I said, yes, that's fine. I'll do it. And then I, went to the bathroom and threw up. So,
oh no.
But it ended up being this really wonderful experience because I read this poem about, that I wrote, about how I was processing the grief from my father-in-law's death. And there was a man there who had just lost his son, and just months before, and he came up to me afterwards and he said that he really appreciated that it articulated things that he was feeling right at that moment, and he felt that he wasn't alone. And it was such a beautiful moment for me to really be able to know that what I was writing wasn't just fluff. It wasn't just for me, that it could really help other people.
I'm all teary over here.
Yeah, it was a moment that made me, I didn't know what to say to the guy. I was just like, thank you. And then, cry in my car. I'm a very emotional person. So, anyway,
it's our time
for the QWERTY challenge.
Yes. So the QWERTY challenge for the week is to assess yourself, to evaluate yourself. And this has been the start for several of our challenges already. But like we said, that's kind of where a lot of things start, is knowing yourself and really thinking through things. So this week, what you're going to be assessing and evaluating is, are you afraid? Okay, is there fear somewhere in whatever it is that you're doing right now? If so, then what is that fear? Try to name it. Try to figure out what is the crux of the matter here. And is it a valid fear? Okay, so is there really something to be afraid of, genuinely to be afraid of? Or is it an indicator that change could be on the way? And that perhaps this is a change that maybe you should welcome and embrace. So that would be our challenge to you this week.
Yeah. So go make something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And and then ties in with what we said last week about how to overcome our self-doubt, how to overcome all of these things is to just do it. To find something to create, find what makes us fearful, and go for it. Give it a shot.
And get to know yourself a little bit more. Through all of these episodes, it has really just been about getting to know who you are, getting to know your quirks and your vices and your strengths and your weaknesses and all of these wonderful things that make up who you are and why people love you. And if you don't know that yet, then maybe by the end of this little series that we're doing, you might know yourself a little bit better.
So, yeah. Well, great. Well, you guys have just an amazing week, an amazing creative week, and we will see you next time.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks for listening until the end.
Seriously, you're a trooper.
Do you think QWERTY Writing Life is the bomb?
May, you just said the bomb.
Don't you censor me.
If you think QWERTY Writing Life rocks ice for real,
oh my word,
please rate, review, and share us with others.
If you have questions about this week's episode or want to start a conversation, you can reach us by visiting QWERTYWritingLife.podbean.com.
We'll be back next week with more candid chats for you.